Hey guys, it's Sarah from Book Nerds and Fangirls, and today we are gonna be doing Riverdale. I think it's episode 8. 8 of Riverdale. We're doing Riverdale season 4, episode 8, entitled In Treatment. Now, I saw the promo for this one like 2 weeks ago, because a week ago was Thanksgiving, and I took a break from YouTube for Thanksgiving. Then I work in retail, so you should know how busy we get around the Thanksgiving season because of Black Friday. So I didn't make a lot of video content last week, but my god, am I gonna be making a lot of video content in December. Now, it's not gonna be my usual December stuff where I do like ever many days of fangirling. I'm deciding to do that in January because I feel like it would be more reasonable to do the best of 2019 whenever 2019 is over. That way everything that comes out in 2019 gets its fair shot, and I won't make videos early. I really don't get people who make that content early. Yeah, I get the quicker you get it out, the more views you get, but I feel like it's not fair to things that come out in December 2019 to do your list early on in December 2019, like I've seen some people doing so far. So I'm keeping that off my radar for December 2019. I'm just gonna briefly tell you guys what I'm gonna be doing in 2019 for the rest of 2019, and that's reacting to TV shows all December long. Because oh boy, do I got a lot of content to react to. Not only am I reacting to Riverdale, which has 2 more episodes for its mid-season finale, same with Legacies, I believe. Believe they still have 2 episodes left before they get into their mid-season finales. But even if Riverdale and Legacies go on break, I still have a lot of Netflix content to get through. And yeah, you heard me right. Netflix is dropping the holy grail of content in December. My god. I'm just barely getting caught up on my HBO content. Like, I just watched Us today, and I also watched Shazam, and they're both good movies. Stay tuned for like my best movies of 2019 in January, because that's gonna be a fun list. I'm up to 51 movies that I've watched. So of course I'm gonna have 2 separate lists of things that I watched in 2019 that actually came out in 2019 versus movies I've watched that are a little older. So stay tuned for those videos, because I think I'm gonna have a lot of fun with that one, because I watch so many movies. But my god, it's like I get caught up on one thing and another thing just pops up. So today is actually a fun day because after Riverdale, I'll be doing my first video reaction to Ian Somerhalder's new series, V-Wars, and then Fuller House comes out on Friday. So I'll be doing my reaction to Fuller House as well because it's its last season, and I really want to do that one. And then The Witcher is also coming out on the 12th of December, I think, so I'll be doing my reaction to that one, on top of doing my reaction to You Season 2, which is why I moved my videos so far off in advance, because I really want You Season 2 to be on this list. Season 1 is definitely going to be on it, because I watched You Season 1 in 2019. Early 2019, so stay tuned for my best TV shows of 2019, because that's gonna be on the January list. And and then last but not least, I have Alexa and Katie season 3, which comes out in December, on December 31st or 30th of 2019. It will probably sadly not be on this list because it comes out literally New Year's Eve. Even I'm pretty damn sure I'm gonna be working that night. So that unfortunately will not be in my favorites of 2019 list. Well, actually, season 2 might be. I'm pretty sure season 2 I watched early in 2019, but if you're wondering where Alexa and Katie is on my favorites 2019 list, it means I didn't watch it in 2019, I watched it in 2020. But enough of me ranting, raving. This isn't what you guys came for. I just want to get in on what December is gonna be. Also, I put up my Christmas lights. It's right here, and if I check on my dog, quick update on my dog. If you guys watched my Black Widow trailer reaction, you know my dog has been sick this week, so we've been dealing with that. We took her to the vet the other day, and thankfully it's nothing too serious. We found out she needs to be set on a bland diet for a couple days, so that's good. Everything else about her was healthy. Her teeth and gums were okay. Her heart rate was good. Everything was good. It was just an underlying stomach issue. So hopefully the diet that my vet suggested is gonna help, and Penny will be up and ready to go in a couple days. But without further ado, let's get started with the video. Alright, so it seems like we're taking a different approach with this episode. It looks like we're just doing character by character instead of, doing them all together, all at once. So the first part, we are focusing on Betty. Betty. She just received a letter in the mail that her mom opened, by the way, which, it's Alice. She doesn't give her any privacy. We know Alice by this point. We'll get into that lack of privacy in a minute, because it's actually a huge thing about Betty's case file here. But we figure out that Betty did not get into Yale. Yale rejected her, and the reason why she didn't get into Yale is still unknown. Sometimes, colleges just don't accept you no matter how good your grades are, and Alice thinks that it's because Betty and Jughead are having sex because she finds Betty's birth control pills, which understandably makes Betty pissed off because she feels like there is no privacy or boundaries of her and Alice, which I totally get. Yeah, my mother was in no shape or form as overbearing as Alice Cooper is, but she did have her moments. And I think this is like the same with most mothers out there. I feel like some mothers are very, you're my last baby and I want to cling on to you for the longest time. And then, of course, Betty is distraught about not getting into Yale, so she goes to see the therapist that the school has hired to get students through the extremely tough times they're going through, which I think actually having a therapist there for them to talk about all the shit they've been through is actually a pretty good step for the writers of Riverdale. Obviously, they probably figured out, wow, we have so many teenagers going through traumatic events, and yet no one is talking to a therapist, no one's going to a therapist for their issues, and my god, do the people of Riverdale have issues. So I'm glad they're instating some therapy for these teenagers that have been through multiple traumatic events. I mean, about time. Even I was commenting, like, do the parents not give a shit about getting their kids into therapy after having traumatic events? I mean, I know Mama Blossom don't give no shits, but the rest of the parents seem like, they would at least try to care. Hell, even the parents of, like, the Pretty Little Liars got them into therapy. Like, it's not like their therapist is being blackmailed by A or something like that. Like that, oh god, Riverdale and Pretty Little Liars crossover. Crossover. So this therapy session happens, and of course, Alice, like, charges into it, wanting to talk to the therapist about Betty, so they have a double session, which leads to Betty confronting her mother about all the shit that she's done, because, like I said, Alice Cooper has done a lot of shit. Shit, by the way, she's not Alice Cooper no more, she's, Alice Smith, so I'm just gonna refer to her as Alice from this point. So Betty and her mother have like this heated conversation where Betty's all like, do you know how many things this woman has done to me? Just because she quote unquote loves me. Lesbian, god, I totally forgot like half the shit Alice has done to Betty so far. And yeah, I get that Alice is like an overbearing and controlling mother, but as far as Riverdale parents go, she's a pretty solid mother. She just needs to learn how to let go and respect her kids' privacy just a little bit more. Let's see. And then, during this heated discussion, Alice lets it slip up that she doesn't feel the same way about Charles and Polly like she does Betty, because she loves Betty the most, which we haven't got an explanation as to why she loves Betty the most. I know you shouldn't pick favorites of your kids, but overall, I'm pretty sure quite a few parents have a favorite child. They just don't say it in order not to offend or make longer lasting issues with their other children. But you could tell that Alice still has some more emotional responses towards Betty than she does Polly and Charles. I mean, Charles we didn't really see because, of course, gave him away from adoption, yada yada. But Polly, she tries to be invasive in Polly's life, and Polly doesn't stand for it. She has the whole I don't give a shit attitude. So Betty is her overall choice. And I understand that to a certain extent. I just personally don't think you should have favorites between your kids, but it happens. What are you gonna do about it? And, yeah, that's all I gotta say for right now, because that was the end of Betty's part. But I'm a little interested to see what's gonna happen with the rest of this episode. Shit's gonna go down in this episode, because we're halfway through the season. Speaking of which, what is this season about? We're almost halfway through and there's no overall arc connecting all these storylines together. We have a little bit of a storyline going on, an underlining storyline involving Betty, Archie, and Veronica and Jughead's death, but no real full circle moment. I still think that Jughead is writing the story about his death for the class, and that's what's going on, but that's my theory. In true Riverdale fashion, I don't think they're gonna get rid of Cole Sprouse anytime soon. He's one of the reasons why so many people are watching Riverdale, myself included. So, I don't know. I don't think that's gonna happen, but we'll see. So this segment was about Archie. So Archie falls asleep in class, and his teacher sends him to the licensed therapist that's to the school. And they talk about his behavior lately since his dad died and how he's dealing with that, on top of him not applying to colleges because he feels like he needs to be the hero that Riverdale needs, instead of, just letting it go like everyone else probably would. But nope, not Archie. He just has to be a vigilante of sorts. Whenever the therapist uses the term vigilante, he's like, no, I'm not that. she concludes that Archie has compulsive behavior, which he doesn't think he has, but he can't fight his urges, and his urges are putting the people he loves in danger, which his compulsive behavior is an addiction for him. He feels like he needs to do it instead of that he has to do it. He doesn't have to protect Riverdale, but he feels like he needs to because of how his father was. And this segment was okay. I still enjoy Betty's segment a little bit more than Archie's, but then again, in terms of Riverdale, I feel like Archie is one of my least favorite characters. I've always been vocal about that. So his storylines, I think, are kind of bland and okay-ish. They're just not as great as everyone else's. I mean, how do you have the main character be the most bland person on the show? I have no idea. But no way, shape, or form throwing shade towards Archie, but he's like one of my least favorite characters, so. And he goes through such normal things compared to most of the teenagers on Riverdale. Still, people haven't noticed. So I feel like that session was pretty tame. So after this advice from the therapist, which gives him, ideas about what he can do instead of putting everyone in danger, which, he should have listened to adults' advice or asked for advice beforehand before everyone else was just like being put in danger. I feel like if you want to do something for your community and crime, you should at least ask what you could do about it. Don't always take it into your hands. I know Riverdale's police aren't the smartest people in the world, but being a vigilante isn't really smart either, especially if it puts people in danger that you're supposed to be protecting. So after getting advice, Archie decides that he's gonna move out of his mother's house to keep her safe. Which I think is a dumbass idea to begin with. I mean, I get it, he wants her to be safe, but it doesn't mean that those criminals don't still know where he lives. If anything, that puts his mother in more danger if he's not there. But I don't know. I don't know how these things go. Honestly, so Archie is now sleeping at the center, and now he has a hotline for kids in need, or if anyone wants to talk, which, I'm all for Archie staying in Riverdale because most people don't leave their hometowns. Actually, a lot of people leave their hometowns, but not everyone does, so Archie staying makes sense, or at least someone staying makes sense. Someone always has to stay, and I feel like Archie is that character, not because he can get into a good university, but maybe because he loves everything about Riverdale. Riverdale is his home, and he doesn't want to be away from Riverdale. So I feel like that storyline makes most sense. But I don't know what's gonna happen in season 5, because obviously we're not stopping at season 4, so let's get back on to the video and see who we're gonna talk about next. So I feel like Cheryl's part is without a doubt the best part of this episode in Riverdale. I feel like Cheryl's actress doesn't get enough screen time as it is, so it's always a delight for me whenever I see Cheryl on screen, because I feel like she's the one that has all this fucked up things going on with her and other stuff. Like, I even stated in season 4, episode 1 of Riverdale, that whenever they told Cheryl that it happened 2 years ago, that she needs to just get over it, I claimed that to be insensitive because there is no timestamp on grief. Cheryl has had a bunch of shitty ass things that have happened to her. I really was very offended that people who claim to be her friends would say that to her, even though, you know, they don't travel in the same circles. And I always feel like Cheryl is just the person they have as a side friend. They never really care for her as if she is a real friend. She's not one of the core four, so they never really interact a lot. So Cheryl doesn't really have a lot of people to get her through these difficult times. I mean, not only has her brother died, her father killed her brother. Her mother is a psychopath. People have been trying to steal everything away from her. She committed suicide. She's been in conversion therapy. She was involved with the farm, but she's been through a lot for a teenager. Oh, and she was almost raped too. So, like, a lot of people could handle a lot, but I feel like Cheryl finally getting the help that she needs after people neglecting to check up on her. It's like she goes through these traumatic things and people will check up on her for like a day. No, Cheryl needed help a long time ago. Her parents did not give a shit about her, honestly. Honestly, I feel like Cheryl has like it the worst out of all the Riverdale family, but I really do like this therapist. I know that as administrator, she had to take the Vickens away from Cheryl. I loved how Cheryl just, like, completely lost it in the locker room because, you know, the Vixens were the one thing that was keeping her together. It was the one thing she had, and of course she doesn't have it anymore, and I feel really bad for Cheryl. I do agree that she needs to concentrate on getting better, but I don't necessarily think taking away the one thing that's helping her actually keep control in her life was a smart decision on their part. But, you know, fingers crossed for this. I really hope Cheryl has a bigger part in the second half of the season. But I feel really sad for Cheryl. She just goes through so much, and I feel like she keeps on getting shit on. Justice for Cheryl. And apparently the therapist told her that she could find out if she's a triplet, and she absorbed them in the womb with just a simple test that a doctor could administrate, but her therapist thinks it's more logical that someone is just gaslighting her, that they're just fucking around with her in order to fuck with her mental health, which, you know, I really hope it's not Tony or Nana Rose. I really just hope that it's her mother fucking with her, honestly, because we haven't seen Penelope in a while. Well, we know she's out there. We know if she still exists somewhere. She hasn't been caught. She hasn't been found. Of course, Cheryl will probably try to blame Tony, and they'll probably break up again. God help me if Tony is the one gaslighting Cheryl just to get back at her. At her for this shit, but, like, I don't see why Tony would actually do this to Cheryl. It just doesn't seem logical. I know that Tony loves Cheryl, so why the fuck would she do that? I'm not sure. Someone was all like, oh, well, maybe Tony is doing it. I'm all like, I don't think that's the case. I don't think her Nana would do that to her also. No clue. Probably one of the people that are trying to have her seen as unfit, because they want her to give up her share of the company. But I don't know. Let's go ahead and find out where this is all going. We still have yet to figure out Jughead's storyline in this episode. He probably won't have a storyline in this episode. I don't see how the therapist could talk to him if he's not a Riverdale student. But, I don't know. We'll see. We still got Veronica's session. I think Veronica will be the last one to have a session. Because the core four are already taken care of. But, I don't know. We'll see. We'll definitely see. So I wasn't gonna talk much about Veronica's part because mostly it was just her and her therapist and the therapist talking about her issues with Hiram and, why they hate each other so much because they act so much alike. Basically, and Veronica thinks, I am nothing like my father, I don't know why you're insisting this, and then the therapist comments on all her similarities to her father, which, instills that Veronica has daddy issues, so it's pretty basic stuff back and forth because Veronica got accepted into Harvard, but the dean of admissions was just all like, oh, and thank your dad for this for me. So she thinks that her father bribed her way in to Harvard, which makes her mad because honestly, she felt like she wanted to do this by herself. So she didn't want her father's influence or help. She just wants something that's hers. And I agree with the therapist that unless you really want to cut toxic people out of your life, they'll always come back because you keep letting them in. I mean, some cases that's not true. With Veronica's case, I feel like it is. I also feel like it's very unavoidable to avoid Hiram whenever her mother is still doing that. But let's take her mother, for instance. Her mother claims that she doesn't want anything to do with Hiram, and yet she keeps letting him back into her life because that's a cycle of toxic relationships. And if Veronica doesn't want to be a thing like her mother and take her father back, then she should probably, start regarding her father as trash. Like the rest of Riverdale. But I don't know. I feel like it's very complicated when it comes to Veronica and Hiram. Hiram is still her father. Obviously, she might feel like something for him, like still a blood relation. But I still say this, even in my real life, just because you have a blood relation does not necessarily mean you have to love that person. I feel like family is very subjective, and I also feel that the family are the people that are family are the people who are there for you the most. And Hiram and has almost never been there for Veronica. He's been there for her a couple times, but he seemed to do more harm than good. So if I was in Veronica's situation, I would cut him off. She took a step by renaming herself Luna, but there's the thing with this whole Luna thing, it's still an extension of Hiram. I feel like she picked the last name Luna just to mess with Hiram. Instead of, actually taking it for herself. And while I loved it at the time, the therapist does make a lot of good points when she says that they're in this constant back and forth because they see each other as rivals. As extensions of each other. So Hiram will always try to interfere in Veronica's life unless Veronica tells him to basically fuck off. So that's what I agree with the therapist on. But I don't know. Let's go ahead and continue this episode. We've got like 20 minutes left, I believe. Okay, so I feel like the best therapy sessions have been, not Veronica's, have been Cheryl's and Jughead's. Cheryl's because she really, really needed that therapy session because she hasn't talked to anyone about what she's been going through. A lot of her so-called friends have just, cast her to the side to deal with their bigger issues, and I understand they're teenagers, but even as a teenager, if I knew my friend needed someone to talk to, I would be there for them. They are almost never there for Cheryl, if anyone has never noticed that. That's how I feel. Just my opinion. And then we have Jughead, who goes to the therapist to get his transcripts, and they have small talk. At first he's resistant to small talk. He doesn't want to do it. And then they talk about Stonewall Prep and how they are basically just trying to steal his grandfather's main work and make it their own. Which they have like a lot and lots of books. So, yes, the foundation started with his grandfather, but his grandfather didn't make every single one of them. And I know it's still a lie. But this therapist is like very smart. I'm really glad they got a therapist that actually knows what she's doing. This therapist seems like she does her homework and she's very intelligent and she knows exactly the right things to say to their kids. She feels more like a parent than the parents of Riverdale do. Honestly, I did really like how he was glorifying his grandfather, and he keeps glorifying him. And I like how the therapist got him back down to earth to get him to see from his dad's point of view. Like his dad was a ganglanger, and he has gone so far, come so far in the past couple of seasons. If anything, he's like had the most character development on the show. So, like, F.P. Jones is one of my favorite characters, and my favorite dads. He does, like, everything for Jughead. At first he was absentee, but now he's, like, really there for his son, and doing the most for his kids, and he's just great. And then I love how the therapist was basically telling Jughead, how do you think that makes your dad feel that you are obsessing so much over what happened to your grandfather whenever your grandfather wasn't the best guy to your father. He was a mean drunk who used to beat on him and other stuff. And I like how she brings that point across. Even like FP is even like when FP told him about it and how they didn't really get along, and why Jughead just passed it off. I didn't really feel anything about it until a therapist told him, hey, how do you think that your dad feels that you're obsessing so much over a man who caused him so much pain in the past? Yeah, I understand wanting to know more about this and other stuff, but please don't flunk out and take everything to like the back burner just for a man who really didn't care about your dad whatsoever. I don't even know if his grandfather died or not, or has died. Are we gonna get like his grandfather at some point, or is he dead? I can't remember if they mentioned if he's dead or not. Not in this past season. But I really liked all these therapy sessions. I'm pretty sure now all the characters are gonna go together, or the fallout of what's happening. I really like this episode, like all the episodes that deter from the main storyline that they're trying to shape up are my favorite episodes. Like, I really loved the Fred Andrews episode. I really loved the Halloween episode, and I really like this In Treatment episode. So I feel like the ones that go from the main storyline and focus more on the characters and them just being normal for once are the best episodes of Riverdale, I feel like whenever the writers actually sit down and think things through when it comes to writing about important topics is when it's actually good. Now, the nonsense that is Riverdale, the rest of Riverdale is what I don't like, and why I have such a hard time keeping up with it. If it wasn't for the fact that I was doing these reactions to Riverdale, I would have actually put it down until I could watch it on Netflix like I always do, but I'm definitely interested in keeping up with this season, if not to have some content to watch besides Legacies. So I don't know, let's go ahead and watch the end of Riverdale, and then I'll start videotaping V-Wars while I'm editing this. It's gonna be a fun night. Okay, so Riverdale has just ended. I like the fact that Betty's mother gave her back the money she had taken from her college fund in order to help fund the farm. I'm glad she finally gave her back that money because, you know, that was Betty's money that she saved for her freaking college fund. I'm glad that she has that back. So that's great. Great. And then, let's see. What else? And then, you know, Archie is just all like, oh hey, vigilante stuff. Again, I'm just all like, Archie, you're gonna end up getting hurt, but you know, he's obviously still alive in spring. In the spring, so I don't know what happened. Then Cheryl got her test back and she's not a triplet, she's 100% Cheryl, so there's that. And she feels like someone is doing this to her and she's gonna make them pay, and I really hope to God it's not Tony. Tony, just for a dramatic effect. And then we got Veronica telling her father that she has rejected her acceptance to Harvard in order to go to Yale instead, just to spite him. Because she wants to have her own thing, and she doesn't want to do it because her dad got her into it. So I liked that, and then she tells him that she's gonna destroy him, be better than him, one-up him and everything, which I feel like is a stupid decision on her part. It's like the villain monologue where he literally tells you all his plans and what he's gonna do, and then suddenly gets stalled in those plans because he literally gave his whole plan away. Why would you tell your brother that you're gonna destroy him, that you're taking his business from the outside in? Because I just feel like that's an idiotic, stupid ass thing to do. But hey, no one said teenagers were smart. I really hope she accomplishes this, but it's harm, so I doubt it. And then we have Jughead, who did a little bit of digging into the Baxter's brothers' stories and realized that people who were in the same society that his grandfather was, all of them have met tragic deaths, and he thinks they're not accidents, he thinks that they're murders, and he's gonna go try to solve that murder, which will probably end up getting him dead, which, you know, another piece of the puzzle has fallen. I still think it's all for his story. Because of how they're acting, how they're not verbally emoting anything. Their acting is more stale and story-like than it is, you know, trying to be full of emotion. So it's either Jughead's story or the society is trying to falsely convict Betty, Veronica, and Archie of Jughead's death because he found out too much, so they killed him. Obviously, we know those two people who are people that Jughead knows in his school. Honestly, we know those two are fucking liars. And say and do anything for their own personal gain. So there's no way in hell we could trust him. I don't even know why FP trusts these people. They do pranks for a living, unless, you know, Jughead's death is just like one big elaborate prank in order to get back at that one guy who claims that he is the original writer. That would be a interesting twist too. I think it's gonna be one of these three twists. I don't think it's anything else. I don't think Jughead is really dead, honestly. So it could go one of those three ways, honestly. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Comment down below and let me know. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!